Joining us on the journey today is a Tony Award-winning actress, activist, and candidate for governor of New York. Please welcome to the journey, Cynthia Nixon.
Come on, FCPC, give it up. Well.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here. Now, let me
just
be honest. I never thought I'd be on this stage as a pastor interviewing someone from Sex and the City. This is a big deal for me, all right? So this is a big, I'm sure there are a lot of fans.
Life has a lot of surprises.
It sure does. But, you know, I told you, I want to talk to a degree about this journey of yours because that journey has taken you from actress to activist to now you're a candidate for governor of New York State.
Yeah.
All right? So that is amazing. But I want to talk about that journey as an actress to get to the point where you were, the challenges you faced along the way as you were trying to just pursue your dream and your own gifts. How was that?
Sure. Well, I would say for me that sort of the story of my life, of course, starts with my parents and my childhood. And for me, you know, I love my dad very much. I'm thinking about him as Father's Day. But my dad had a lot of demons. Yeah. And nothing he ever did was good enough for himself, and then nothing that any of us did was good enough. And so our home could be a scary place because he had such anger. And my mom always said that if I hadn't been born, she loved him too, and she would have stuck with him, and she understood that his anger really came from fear. Yeah. But she saw the effect that it was having on me as I was getting older, and one night when I was about 6, she finally found it inside her to draw a line in the sand and to tell him that he had to go. And when she did that, she just flat out saved me. Yeah. And so for me, and so then, you know, when I was like 9, 10, she said, you got to figure out a way to pay for college because I'm not able to save anything.
Wow.
And so she had wanted to be an actress and she hadn't made it, but she had passed on that love, and she and I would, you know, go to standing room in the back of the theater where you know, you can get a seat for almost nothing, and we would dissect things, and she would teach me, and she was my first and really my only acting teacher. And so when I was 12, I started acting as a way to pay for college. And so I'm 52 this year, so it's a 40-year-long career.
You see, the way I came to encounter you actually was through your activism. I mean, TV is one thing, but through your activism, what really fuels your own activism? Because I've seen you engaged in a lot of different issues in the city that really you've spoken out on. And what energizes some of your activism? And
I've been kind of an activist on women's rights and on LGBTQ equality, but the thing that I have been the most devoted most of my life to over the last 20 years is public school, the fight for better public schools and better public school funding. And so I started fighting against that budget and for a citywide solution, but really quickly I found that there was a statewide solution called the Campaign for Fiscal Equity, which is something that I've been fighting for the last 17 years, which says, you know, New York is the second most unequally funded school system in the entire country, and the Campaign for Fiscal Equity is like this generation's Brown versus the Board of Education. It's the solution. It says we need to not only fund our schools, but we need 3/4 of that money to go to high needs districts, to largely black and brown districts and upstate rural districts that are so unequally funded.
It is amazing to me how in these kind of educational bureaucratic wars, you know, our children become collateral damage.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Along the way. And I think now we take a school, we want that school to perform at the highest level, but we cut all the resources, clip all the wings, and then say perform, and then hold them accountable when they can't perform in spite of the fact that the budget has been cut.
Yes, and I mean, we just got such a test and punish culture here. Just testing, just math and English, and like you say, particularly in all but our wealthiest, whitest school districts, We are not offering music and gym and art, or we're not offering gym, we're not offering science and social studies, we're just doing test prep and cutting the funding. And also we have schools that are in our black and brown communities that are looking more and more like jails and feeling more and more like jails.
Yeah, yeah.
With metal detectors and with so many police in schools, and all the young people that I speak to say, this is not for us, this is not making us feel safe, this is making us feel criminalized.
Yeah, yeah.
And we have to stop it. We have to stop it.
Our school system here is one of the most segregated
Yes.
in the country.
Yes.
And one of the most progressive cities in the world
Exactly.
that have segregated schools. And we don't realize that because sometimes we are fearful to use that language, but that's what it is. And
we've got a system that is really ushering white children into college and children of color into the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
100%. And we have the ability to change that, to totally reverse it. But we have to do it with funding, and we have to do it with restorative justice, and we have to make sure that our teachers look more like the students that they're teaching.
Yeah. And I gotta ask you this: what do you say to people who look at you and say, you're an actress, so stay in your lane?
Yeah.
And not try to engage in politics or governance? What do you say to those people who in some ways, maybe well-meaning people, who said, we've seen enough of this, and that we don't feel that someone in your sphere and in your work should be crossing over and doing this kind of work? What do you say to that?
I would say that I'm running as a person who has been an activist on public schools and on LGBTQ equality and on women's rights, and that we're at a moment in our country when we just feel like we can't trust career politicians anymore to do what needs to be done. Where the voters see something that our elected leaders seem to be asleep to. That we need real change, that we need to get the big money out of politics, and we need to invest in education, and we need to invest in renewable energy, and we need to bring single-payer health care to all of our people.
Yeah, I'm one of those persons. When I ran for office, I was not a career politician, but I believe many of the same things. I believed that we needed people who had a heart for people again, and who understood that compassion and community takes place over politics and political expediency. And we need more of that. I'm not one of those folk who say, well, this person has no experience, you ought to stay out of this. No, someone has to start somewhere to shift the paradigm. Yes,
all the political experience in the world doesn't mean anything if you're not using that experience to actually make life better for people.
Absolutely.
And, I think one of the most important things that we can do as people running for office, which is something that I'm doing, is not accept any corporate donations. I'm not accepting a single dime of corporate donations.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to do the right thing when you're getting millions and millions of dollars to do the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's a good line, by the way. Take that on the road.
Okay, I'll remember it.
Yeah. But the only way, and I say this, I learned this as a community organizer, the only way to overcome organized money is with organized people.
Yes.
And if we begin to become organized and understand our role, and your role as a citizen is to be deeply engaged in the life of this country and to use and exercise your power and to not dismiss it and leave it in the hands of people who do not care.
Yes.
Money should not drive this. Money should not shape this, because money is shaped, and the corporations are steeped in self-interest, not the benefit of, as we say, the least of these are those who are suffering. And so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and so, obviously, I've got a real David and Goliath, battle ahead of me, but I believe exactly what you just said.
Well, I like the David and Goliath. You in church. That was good. I like that.
I got my slingshot.
That's right.
I got my slingshot.
That's right.
And that's what we got to do. We got to talk to people. We got to talk to people about their issues and say, we're New York. Why do we have the second most unequal education system? Why do we still have cash bail in New York? Why do we have two different systems of justice for Harvey Weinstein and Khalif Browder?
That's right.
Why?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, here on the journey, we like to do this before you leave. I want you to share 3 things with us that you've learned along your journey that you think will be helpful for us along our journey.
Okay, so I have that idea that we can't let perfection be the enemy of good.
Oh, I like that.
You know?
Yeah, yeah.
That we have to take what we're doing and we say, it's good what I'm doing, maybe I could do it better, but don't do what I see my children do sometimes when they were little, draw something beautiful and then rip it up because it's not perfect. Look, I think fear pushes a lot of us around.
Yeah.
And we can't let fear push us around. And the best antidote I know to fear is love. That we can dispel fear if we can remember the love that we have and that have had in the past and the love that others have for us, and that the appreciation of that love and the appreciation of all that is good in our life can help us quiet down that fear. And I guess the third thing would be how important it is to stand up. What I learned is that it's better when you stand up, not just you for your child, but when you gather with parents all across the city and all across the state, and you stand up for all your children, and you stand up for what's right. That when you gather together with other people who care about justice, you are a force to be reckoned with.
Come on, let's give it up for Cynthia Nixon.